Welcome to TOOKY'S Sidebar, a book club for frog posters and the e-girls who love them. I'm David.
I'm Gabe, and I'm in my cunty coal mining era.
And I'm Capitalissimo, and I'm platforming the trans-adjacent contrary to my desires.
And we're back again to discuss my first book by Honor Levy, published May 2024 by Penguin Press. Wait.
These
Our
are
favorite dissonant press book.
Why these are normies.
Girl alert. Let me ring the bell. Girl alert. Girl alert.
Yeah.
So we're a little outside of our comfort zone now. We're our first time covering someone after the New York Times, Paris Review, Guardian, and NPR have already had their shot, taken their shot at it.
Lesser critics.
Yeah, and probably 60 plus other guys.
So
that was a body count joke.
Yeah, I was going to do a Zoe Quinn joke with that, but you took it from me.
Run through. She's run through. I'm saying she's run through.
Yeah, Honor Levy. I'm actually here to defend her honor. I'm going to wicker shield for Honor Levy this episode.
Listen, you're not going to be the only one. I'm in my wholesome Ch-UwU-ngus woman respecter arc. All right. After Ursula Le Guin, you opened that door for females on the podcast, and you have no idea the Pandora's box you have opened.
I broke the glass ceiling and neglected to pull up the ladder.
And this is one that I was super excited to read, not even for the quality of the work or anything about Honor herself, because I think she's interesting, but there was such a reaction to this one for several reasons. So I guess let me just open up and ask what you guys know about Honor Levy. I think Gabe, as our resident woman respecter, has stalked this girl a little bit. I don't know if you want to share with the class.
Active restraining order that this podcast might be violating.
Hey, listen, I learned my ways of showing love and affection through Spencer Grunhauer, my hero, and I tried to woo women that way, and it's been quite successful. I just need to get arrested first, and then I can become a anti-dissident right podcaster, and then I can get my women that way, just like Spencer Grunhauer.
Yeah, works for Sam Hyde too.
Yeah, and look, he's getting arrested by frumpy Latinas now.
One day you can have a frumpy Latina on your arm.
The monkey's paw witch.
The monkey's paw curls. One finger curls in.
Yeah, so how did we end up reading this, Dave?
Well, so Honor Levy, I don't know her full background. I know she had a podcast that you sent to me where she talked about playing Minecraft for like 20 minutes, and I just my brain started to turn
our
off.
Girl.
So the opposite.
She's loosely connected to Dime Square, some affiliation maybe with Red Scare. I have no idea. And then also with
they're
Tyrant.
synonymous.
She does thank Dasha Nekrasova in the at the end of the book.
Yeah, and the Archangel Michael. She's Tradcath.
And I believe, and then there's this whole Tyrant publishing crowd, which I don't know very well, but friend of the show, Gabriel Smith of Brat fame, I know is connected with them. Who also had an unlistenable podcast that he was on. I saw her sharing, but there's sort of this nascent scene there of they call themselves post-left people, and there's a little bit of cross-pollination with the kind of people we usually cover, but obviously the people we cover are not getting published by Penguin. So
well, that's because
they're
lacking an additional X chromosome, and they're straight.
And the reaction to this, I guess let's just talk about the reaction to this. I came upon this, the infamous Knight Errant line I saw somewhere posted on Substack, and there were just people just freaking out of this. I shared this with a couple of friends of the show, Ogden Nesmer and Frater Assemlen, and they absolutely loathe the page one of this infamous story. And I basically was like, I have to read it because I kind of intrigued me at least.
Yeah, I also did not. I immediately bounced off when I read it, and I God, am I going to own up to this? Yeah, I am. All right. So I was going to bully Gabe by making fun of this story after one of our previous recordings. And I started to read it to him on voice, and was then taken with the meter and lyricism of the opening story, and then proceeded to read the whole thing.
And you fell in love with every page, didn't you?
And I concede that I was quite taken with it after I had read it. Yeah, it should not. This is a book that should not be read. It should be spoken, which is in this case it's an observation. Later, it will be a criticism. But
dude, it's like a female Finnegan's Wake, dude. It's supposed to be spoken out loud, like an Irish accent. That's the only way I get it.
I have some pretty significant criticisms of the book overall in terms of structurally and the quality of some of the later stories. I think it's inconsistent, but there's some good stuff and some not so good stuff. But the story one, the one everyone reacted to, I think is like, I think Cap, you agreed to be kind of to read us, do a reading of it in a moment here. So people tuning in get to hear some of this for themselves. But I think it's masterful in its ability to provoke someone who just picks it up to the point where all those people who are rage baiting and reacting to it is like, I hate to break it to you, you're just yet another hashtag colonize West Bank victim of this young dime square girl just exercising her mind control powers on you, and you just advertised it for free. Thanks for giving that real estate. Yeah, another settler onto
Listen,
your
to the one
brain.
chud, how we even started this, because we have a sacred rule here in TOOKY'S Mag. We have a rule that is called the vanity pick. We each pick one book that's not necessarily on topic or necessarily popular, but it's what one of the guys picks. Dave's was My Confessions, about the ancestor of Nick Fuentes, Samuel Chamberlain. We had our guy, Mr. Moan, with Cap, and it was my turn. And we were like, hey, our first year anniversary is coming up. Gabe, you haven't picked anything yet. And I put up a poll. I was like, ooh, do we do, because my Confessions was such a big hit. So I'm like, oh, do I do something cool like historical again? Like, do I do Outlaws? Do I do Goebbels' Michael? Or do I do like Decline of the West? Like, do I do a super memey, like super Gabe core?
This is what we're dealing with, people. Just so you know, this was the best of a lot.
Yes.
A rough lot.
Yes. And because I wanted something dissident. I wanted something all right? And I wanted to be like on brand. But then I'm scrolling through Lit one day on the archive, and I see her reaching through the camera with a Diet Coke in hand. And I knew in my heart of hearts after reading that excerpt that this dark elf has found his dark nymphette. And I knew in my heart of hearts we needed to cover this book. So I set up the founded law. You, Anons, everyone listening to this, you could have been listening to Water One German Kino right now. But because a young, sensitive Sinclair was scrolling Lit one day, you're getting this, and you are very welcome.
Yeah. What 1 foot pick on an image board will do. Let's just shall we dive into to story one, and we'll do some generalities after, but I think this is like the sparking point.
All right.
Let the Kino flow. Let the Cap Kino flow.
He was giving Knight Errant Organ Meat Eater Byronic Hero Haplogroup R1b. She was giving Damsel in Distress Pill Popper Pixie Dream Girl Haplogroup K. He was in his Fall of Rome era. She was serving sixth, final mass extinction event realness. His face was a marble statue. Her face was an anime waifu. They scrolled into each other. If they could have, they would have blushed. Pink pixels on a screen. Monkey covering eyes emoji. Anime nosebleed gif. Hello, friend. Hi. It was a meet cute. They met. It was cute. Kawaii. Uwu. The waifu went pick me, and the statue did, like a tulip emoji. If their two lips had met, he would have tasted seed oils, aspartame lip gloss, and apple red dye 40 on her tongue. She would have tasted creatine, raw milk, and slurs on his. They viewed each other's bodies disembodied, laid out still, frozen, shining, cold, and blue light liquid crystal display. He was posing physique. Gym selfies, Bruegel landscapes. Oh, look how wide his lats look. He's growing angel wings. Flexed, he could flap right up to the sun. She was posting thinspo, puppy dog filter webcam progress shots. Bosch triptychs. Wow, you could put a whole stained glass window in that thigh gap. The crucifixion, maybe. Through her cathedral thigh gap, you could see the sky where the right-winged Icarus went flying by. He was kamikaze mode, pumping iron, all sun and steel, shedding hearts. Less than 3, less than 3, less than 3, to his Saint Winglefortis, daring, starving, holy hikikomori virgin femcell holed up in her serial experiments lane core bedroom. She was posted up, a sleeping beauty gif, a maiden in an unmade bed, posting, just a girl boss building her empire, I'm rotting here. Why? He replied. I decay, and she did decay, like a time-lapse of a rotting fox gif. If he were there with her, a wandering knight on a white horse taking secret refuge in her convent deep in the dark forest, he would kick round the empty cans of white monster on her floor, and she would say, welcome, less than, underscore, greater than, take a seat wherever. He wanted to tell the whole World Wide Web how he felt. She's so hot I want to clean her room, rescue her, white knight defend her in comments and battle. She was his /A poser arc. Why is she so perfect? But he'd have to play it cool, chill, Sigma, no simping. Alcibiades, that's me. The Last Samurai, I'm him. I'm literally him. I'm Ryan Gosling in Drive. I'm American Psycho. I'm Joker. I'm Taxi Driver. He'll stand above her, tall and strong. She'll stare up at him with her shining anime. No, her shining animal eyes. Her real eyes, real lies. Wondering what he was thinking. He'd stare into them, and then he'd sit beside her very close, take a breath, and say, damn, bitch, you live like this? Like Max to Roxanne from A Goofy Movie, 1995, from the meme, 2016. They would smile. There would be butterflies. She'd kiss his cheek, his real cheek, not the marble one, the pink one with the acne scars. He'd kiss her on the lips and she'd laugh in his mouth. Their tongues would touch in the peach ice vapors among the crooked teeth in her too small jaw. He'd watch as she put on a kitty ear headband and dance a little TikTok dance. He'd listen as she told him, instead of the internet, all of her secrets and fears and wishes. He'd tell her, don't worry, kitten, when she asked him about the war in Ukraine or inflation or the Longhouse or whatever. He'd kiss her barcode wrists. He'd tell her how he'd still love her if she was a worm. He'd write a symphony for her birthday, Wagner mode. He'd drink her bathwater. He'd abdicate the throne for her. He'd watch whatever stupid girly teen mom vloggers or weird ASMR videos or mukbangs she liked. He'd make sure she ate enough. He'd build her hanging gardens of Babylon. He'd take her to prom and pin a corsage on her light blue dress. He'd let her bite his shoulder. He'd watch The Notebook, 2004, with her. He'd write her 365 letters. He'd write to her every day for a year. He'd burn a church for her. He'd make her plain buttered noodles just how she liked them. He'd launch 1,000 ships for her. He'd do anything. She'd be his catgirl GF, his tradwife, his love for life. He'd tell her all this, he promised himself, not yet, but soon. Soon all the living he'd done in this degenerate modernity, all the pain, the alienation of this domesticated zoo life, all the leg days and pained pursuit of perfection, the looks maxing, the pinwheel sandwiches after the funeral, the LARPing, the posting, the kissless, hugless, handholdless virgin days would be worth it. He messaged her, I wish you were real, lol. And she replied, sometimes I don't feel real. And he replied, Lamau. He wasn't actually laughing. He couldn't while his tongue was pressed hard to the roof of his mouth like the forums had taught him to. I want you, he typed, imagining his fingers on her skin, pressing down hard on each key. Blushing emoji, she replied almost instantly. He was Pyramus. She was Thisbe. She was with her parents at Olive Garden. Stop that, they said, but she wouldn't. There was no stopping her. She was whispering to him through the crack in the wall. She was screaming for him across the canyon. She was calling to him from the balcony. She was texting him at the dinner table. I need you, she said. Please, are you there, lol? I'm so sad today. I feel so alone. I know you're online. I can see the green light. I'm in my Gatsby arc, lol. Hi? Reply, please, fine. Capital T underscore capital T. Hello? Do you want nudes? 5 question marks. Before he could even decide to tell her no, there she was on his screen, in his hand, all of her, a small pale animal thing, scarred and scared in the fluorescent public bathroom light. Ew. Nauseatingly neotenous. There was a practiced innocence in her pose, an exaggerated weakness. She knew the law of the jungle. He could see behind the sinister emptiness of those anime animal eyes. Her 1,000-yard stare said she'd been on the carousel, in the trenches, and under the apple tree. This wasn't her first rodeo. He knew she was run through. Ew, frailty, roasty, Deuteronomy 22, 20-21. Done. Get thee to a nunnery, begone thought, he thought. He leaves her on red. Back home to her mom's house, she crawls into an unmade bed, feral girl summer, mouse mode in her burrow, vermin instincts kicking in. She makes herself small and still, remembering that she is prey. She prays and waits for his reply, tears filling but not falling from her eyes. She is all alone, left behind, left unread, left to fend for herself in the hollow darkness of her own head. Rar, capital X, capital D, stupid, emo, gay, cringe. Little girl lost, can't even find herself. Pictures of her naked body are out there everywhere. In the cloud floating under the sea, coursing through cables in the dark. It's so dark. She's somewhere underwater, somewhere foggy, floating up out of her own skin. Cloud mode. She is watching a body below her on the unmade bed, curled up like something unborn, half formed or half dead. I'm just a clump of cells, she tries to tell herself, or whatever is left of her or it. That is my body, and my body is me, she half thinks. But the thought is not her own. She knows not what she should think when she is alone. This is why women shouldn't be allowed to vote, she almost remembered the marble statue saying. She reached out for his stone hand across the bed, reaching for her phone, for her boy who lives in it. Not me feeling like a robot pretending to be human. She laughs underwater, half drowned, incapable even of her own distress. Oof. I do not know, my lord, what I should think. This is her Ophelia era. Floating in the pond, wet Coachella flower crown, drowned dark fairy grungecore. This is my hand, this is my hair, this is my phone. I'm here. I exist even when I'm alone. This is my mess. These are my thoughts. I'm a thought. These are my nudes. This is my body on the screen here. This is my body on the bed here. She began to come back into herself, wading through the muddy pond muck, a mess of memories, some birthdays, a piano recital, a broken arm, a baby brother, an Olive Garden bathroom, but mostly her memories were of memes, images, impact font, compression artifacts, screenshots of screenshots of screenshots, funny monkeys, viral mutations, eternal recursion, words that aren't in the Bible, lulls, layers of irony deepening into sincerity, drawings of frogs. One day when she dies, this is what will flash before her eyes. He felt like he was dying, smothered by xenoestrogenic alienation, forced domestication, a lowering of testosterone depopulation, doom, the sun setting for the last time ever, a great ugliness, the end of history flashing before his eyes, withered Wajak, pink Wajak with bleeding eyes, less than 3/3. Cope, or rope, he felt Western civilization falling and bile rising in his throat, a microwave McFlurry of remorse and half-digested animal proteins. He felt himself falling out of love, falling to his knees in a Walmart, a poison arrow in his chest, mRNA mode. Blood of the Liernan Hydra mode. Ow, wow. Passions inflamed in the middle layer of his heart's wall. Myocarditis, one-itis. It's so over, said his sinking, swollen heart. The dry wall called out to his fists. He punched the keyboard instead. Why would you ask that? You're a dumb slut. Just another whore. No, I said I wanted a trad wife, not a tard wife. Roasty, whore, I hate you. I hate you. Just before he hit send, it hit him. Something sent from the beyond. A burning white light, a growing echo of music. The opening notes of MGMT's Little Dark Age. And then it began. Images flashing, hyperspeed through his mind. The intertwined lovers of Valdaro skeletons in their Neolithic tomb, huddled face to face with their arms and legs intertwined in an eternal embrace. Orpheus and Eurydice in the underworld, every pair of lovers ever intertwined in eternal embrace, Odysseus and Penelope, Eloise and Abelard, Adam and Eve, Bella and Edward. At ever-accelerating night core speed, he saw nights and days, battles and births, blood, so much blood, beating hearts, cells dividing, code being written, oceans rising, blooming flowers, dying crops, the great flood, continental drift, the universe expanding, poetry, pain, the Big Bang, empires rising and falling, the birth of his ancestors, the death of his great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, all of the ends and the beginning and beginnings of endings, and ending beginnings and ending beginnings and ending infinitely. He saw what life is and what death signifies and why love is stronger than both. He saw a loop, a shining circle. He saw the way forward as he looked back. He hit the backspace button as he returned with a V from his infinite space to his body to his bedroom to now. He understood now. No, I want you, he replied. Sorry for the late reply. I was away from my keyboard. It wasn't a lie. He had been somewhere else. He wanted to reach through the black glass, through all the ones and zeros, through the mess of wires under the ocean, through the cloud, to grab her, to take her in his big gym arms and hold her, be one. He wanted her now as she was, messy and pure, bone of his bones, flesh of his flesh, this thing to be called woman. He'd reached through the wall before she hit it. He had to. It was a love story. It all was. Everything is. It always has been.
Kino. Absolute Kino. Unironically,
Sorry if
I'm
you have
putting
to
all
edit
my
any of that.
No, that was perfect.
Not at all. Cheers. Yeah,
was,
you nailed it. I will do a little bit, but yeah.
It was absolutely Gabian. I appreciate
okay,
your
I'm good. What's up?
Yeah, all right. Now we're going to pause. Gabe is going to do the exact same recitation. And yeah, no, awesome reading.
It was absolutely Gabe core, man. I loved it.
And I am falling down from the ceiling, like the blade, the Sephiroth's blade, or maybe like with a like a knight with his sword to defend Milady, because I think that is inarguably Kino. And there's all these little edgelords saying, actually the meter could use a little bit of work, and I'm like, bro, like there's like the weaving in of the meme core language. It's like such a bold style. There's this cool like duality, call response tone to it. There's a lot of like homophone use that's like very clever and fun. And yeah, it's just, I don't know what else to say. It's if you can't read that and see that there's at least something there, and okay, here's one. I heard people calling it twee.
It is.
Or like silly, and like, yeah, it is, like it's through layers of irony. Yeah, but it's like self-aware, and it's trying to provoke and capture like this most extreme version of onlineness.
I mean, like, to me,
and distill it down.
I mean, this is the book. Like, this is the whole book, and everything else is some lesser version of this decompressed, right? Everything else in this entire thing,
yeah.
Like, really, this is the only thing you need to read. Everything necessary.
Really?
You know, if you listen to this, you're all set.
Like, it is definitely, it is.
Well, Cap is going through his shut arc.
It's really good. It's extremely lyrical. Like I said, I feel like, you know, I'm probably not the best person to do a reading of this, but I, like, even in my modest rendition, I think that people can tell that this is a densely and deeply written story. I think it's exactly the right length. It does not wear itself out despite its density, and I mean, it's also kind of. It's also, I mean, I think going to be somewhat of a fascinating artifact, because if you were born 10 years too early, and I'm sure if you are born 10 years too late, it will be impenetrable. You will be unable to understand the story. Whereas for people who are, you know, millennials and Gen Zers will almost all get 100% of the story. You know what I mean? So,
can confirm.
You'd think so. I saw some reviewers like struggling with it and saying, "Oh, I had to look up
how
all
old
these
were they?
normies." So she is. I'm not sure. I imagine they're not that old, because these are people in. I don't even remember which one it was that reviewed it. Was it? Oh, I'm looking at. I think it was the Paris Review one. And she was like, "Oh, what's a lane core bedroom?" Well, I'm like, "Get the fuck out!" It was a woman, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah. So
not even a trans.
Okay, now, there are many negative things that I will say about female men, but and male women, but but anime knowledge is not something.
Anime knowledge
something
is like
that you're
they got that
gonna
down.
lose to the gamer socks wearers or the coding socks wearers. Sorry.
Yeah, especially Lane. Lane has
Yeah.
been
Oh my
taken
god.
over
No
by
kidding.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of pastel flag enjoyers are also could probably recite most of Lane to you.
Yeah. I want to extend invite anyone that disagrees with us on this story. I will fight you, or like come on your podcast to argue it, or like I'll bring up
Yeah,
the whole
no,
bus, like all three of us.
There
Like,
will be violence.
We'll show
There'll
up.
be a lot of space in that bus. And listen, I would go even further. I would say this is one of the greatest examples of a female Joyce, because this is absolutely lit credentialed Joyceanism right here. Anyone who's read Ulysses,
it is legitimately Joycean. Elsewhere in this book, I'm not to take away that deserved compliment. Elsewhere in this book, it is Ernest Cline-esque.
Oh God!
In its use of reference,
But shit, you're calling
here
her
it is not. Here it is not.
Well, the thing is, the ghost of, he gave the ghost of Joyce, farted into her writing pen when he wrote this, right? So, but what's interesting about this, the whole text, I mean, you're supposed to cringe, right? But that one paragraph, she knew when you read the first, 3 sentences, there's going to be a cringe factor. That's kind of the point, right? It's the, meta irony kind of thing. But when you read the whole thing, and she actually connects certain, she knows how to set up the punchlines really, really, really well. It starts to really hook up right when she makes the Ophelia reference, because she gets the Ophelia reference via talking about the internet. The internet is in cables underneath the sea, and it's above the cloud, just like the cloud is where my pictures of my nudes are being had. And it's actually, when you look at how she does the whole setup, it's actually quite intricate, and she gets a lot of use out of very short images and short words. Yeah, again, just the cloud, right, alone. Using the images of the picture and the animal eyes, animal, anime, that kind of thing, because she doesn't only use it as a pun, she uses a reference not only to her being a hyper-aware anime character, this a hyperfiction persona of femininity, the anime part, but also animal. She knows the game of sexuality. That's why he was turned off initially with the nudes, right? Because she was a hunter. It was that kind of weird predatory aspect to it. And then it just kind of layers into itself. It recurves into itself, which is brilliant. It's completely self-referential. Not only is it completely self-referential, it's also outer-referential. Because if you make the connections of her being Ophelia and then him implicitly being Hamlet, there's actually a lot of oblique Hamlet references in this, by the way. Yeah. 2 or 3, actually. And then, of course, she even obliquely does a Hamlet reference here when she says, he leaves his infinite space. I could consider myself a king of infinite space if we're not that I have bad dreams, which is the most Zoomer Shakespeare quote ever. That really could be a Zoomer writing that line, basically, if he knew early high middle English. And so I got to say, structurally, as a work of prose, the full length version, like what Cap did, and when you read it, because when he was initially trying to mock me for it, he was like, "Listen, I'm going to read you the first 3 lines," and then he literally did get caught away because it does have a beautiful melody.
Yeah,
it would feel wrong not to continue. It feels wrong not to continue with it. It's brilliantly crafted. And yet again, I do like the way it constantly references itself, and she's very good at setting up the one-liners, right? She does put a lot of work to set up the imagery, and every word is used to its maximum potential to extend to the next line, and then line after that. So I actually thought it was a great work of stamina.
Yeah,
actually.
it was sweat over significantly. You can tell every line was worried over, and yeah, can't take that away from her. Yeah, I don't know what to say about except that it was Kino, and our
and
offer
it's all
to
downhill
fight,
from here.
and it's all downhill from here. That's the generalities of she can't maintain it. Here I actually want to. Okay, we're fully in generalities now. We've covered story 1. We literally read the whole thing. Cap, you don't have to read the whole thing. We've talked through it. Great story. Read it or just listen to Cap read it again. The rest of the book. Let's just talk about the rest of the book, what it is. It's just a series of stories that are autobiographical, slightly fictional it's all the same girl.
They're mostly
essentially.
They are mostly not even. I mean, yeah, you could say it's autofiction. Honestly, they're more like a Spalding Gray monologue, where it is and I realize Spalding Gray is not often talked about nowadays. He was a New England WASP who was famous for his monologues. He put out 5 movie-length monologues in the 80s and 90s and then killed himself in 2004. Killing himself in exactly the same way as he described he would do so in one of his monologues, actually. So you can, one of the few cases where you can find someone performing their suicide note.
Oh, how Mishima core.
Spalding Gray is great, and everyone should look him up. But
he's like the real life Matthew Pegasus from the famous book Black Album.
Matt, do not do it. Don't do it. If you're listening to this, don't do it.
Commit to the bit,
Matt.
We need all of our patrons.
Commit to the bit. Commit to. Oh yeah, that's true. Listen, make your girlfriend pay us in your will. Commit to the bit.
How to get a lifetime subscription to the TOOKY'S Mag Patreon with one weird trick.
Get comped
for just 1 month's payment. Okay. Yeah, but they're really more of these anecdotal monologues. They're not. It is not what I would call to risk committing no true Scotsman here. Not what I would call proper fiction for the most part. Arguably, the ones that do count would be the last 2 stories, which are The End, which is the penultimate story, and the final story, which is called Pillow Girls. Right? Mm-hmm. It's Pillow Girls, not
Pillow Angels.
Pillow Angels. Yeah, there we go. Or The End is the semi-penultimate story, and then there's Halloween Forever, and then there's Pillow Angels. But those 2 are the ones that are written the most like a short story.
Yeah, and there's some quasi essays as well. The Z was for Zoomer, which we'll probably talk through a bit. Is essentially essays, like mini essays in a sequence of them.
She does make some. I mean, at one point she just lists a bunch of David Foster Wallace works. Clearly a fan, but yeah, I mean she's writes more like his essays than his fiction. So
his essays are great. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm not gonna knock the Dallas-Fort Worth essay scene, but yeah, that is what the collection is like. I hear a lot of people talking about this like it is a short story collection. Saying it
blurs the line. It blurs the line. She lives her art. Okay, it's called autofiction. You boomer.
I came in on such a high from this one story, and I do think there is some other good stuff. Like particularly, I think sort of the first third has some other strong pieces in it, and then it started to lose me at a certain point, and then it's just it feels very aimless because it is the sort of autofiction / essay-ish / just circular feminine thoughts. A lot of like, oh, I'm anxious. Oh, I need pills. I'm anxious. I want pills. And it's just like, it's like listening to a woman speak sometimes. No offense.
She's always wanting. She even says it to herself. She always wants. She's always in the state of wanting. She's always wanting. And she maintains a little bit of the lyricism of the banger, right? She does open the story with extremely strong pieces first,
and some of the e-talk stuff. It comes here and there a little bit, but it's just not to the same caliber.
She really drops it in the cancel story, which I actually I thought it was very vapor. Oh, no, to be fair, she does change perspective, I believe once or twice if you count the end. The first one is actually Fig. She does briefly try to write as a male.
Yeah, that's a true story. Yeah. And
Infuriating, but yeah. Go on.
Rage out. This is the Cap Incel arc episode. All right, we're
not covering that story.
I have a ton of thoughts on these, and okay, well, before we get into that, also I want to just let our loving, doting audience know that we've instituted a new something called the Pegasus Protocol. So if you're wondering, not named for any particular reason, but if you're wondering, we're not going to cover every single story in sequence. We're just going to cover like 2 or 3 highlights, including the one we just did. So, don't expect from now on. That's probably how we're going to do anything that's anthologies. Probably going to do a few less anthologies in general going forward. I'm sure we'll still do some.
So I'll have you know, I voted against this gag order, by the way, but I was outvoted.
But okay, some thoughts on structurally. I want to pitch this to you guys. The reason this isn't even structure. I wanted to pitch this to you guys though. The reason I think people get so pissy at this book is because a lot of the reviews are talking about voice of a generation, like really high talk. And there is some like real talent. I think this girl has some serious talent, as shown by the story that we just fawned over. But I think a lot of it comes from who isn't getting this attention and who is, right? And like, who is she and why is she getting published by Penguin? And then, assuming there's like some advertising, obviously she's pushed to high reviewers, get some publicity. Like, why isn't Nutcranker getting this treatment? Why isn't someone else, again, not just to suck off, but to Nutcranker forever. But there's a lot of other cool stuff going on here. I think that's where a lot of the salt is coming from. And then like the Twee first story, it gave people just like a really nice, juicy something to like sink their teeth into without intellectually really engaging with it fairly, and maybe even having like, frankly, like a sexist reaction of, it's fucking this fucking woman. And let's be honest, it probably is because she's a woman to some extent. Probably is because maybe some other aspects of her background.
Well, I mean,
listen, you're balls deep in the simpery, man. Even I'm not going that far. You're digging that hole for yourself, man.
Me? I'm simping?
Excuse me. I think people hate this book because it's like sexist, because like they hate women.
No, he said the opposite of that.
Well, you're saying there's a little bit of that. Yeah, there's probably a little bit of the whole sexist thing in there.
I think there is. Not like, I'm not bemoaning sexism. I'm just saying I think it is the fact she's a girl makes people saltier because women are, elevated and boosted up, and she's part of this quote unquote post left scene. And I think they're sort of a defanged.
She is an AWFL. Like, let's be clear. She is an AWFL.
No, where's the L? APLWF. No, where's the leftist in that word? Okay, fuck it, whatever. She's a post-leftist person.
It's the L. It's the L. That's the L.
Yes,
she's an affluent white female liberal. She's a liberal. Post-leftists are liberals.
Well,
she's a
white.
Yeah. She's a light-skinned dark elf. All right. She has to use the lowercase when she says based. All right. Right. But I don't know, but I actually was kind of curious to look at this because, like, from a right-wing anthropology, that kind of thing, from the E-right studying itself, I have what Ch-UwU-ngus has, which, by the way, I did pray to good Ch-UwU before this podcast too. I need to, like, Ch-UwU Penicelli, please, I need to harness your wholesome Ch-UwU-ngus woman respecting for this episode. I need to talk about a woman's work for 2 hours. Give me the strength to be as wholesome and Ch-UwU-ngus as a woman respecter as you are, right? So I'm trying to channel my Ch-UwU. I got like a tinfoil version of his little fez right now. So I'm going to try my best to be wholesome Ch-UwU-ngus when I say this. This is the example. This kind of book reminds me, this is a female version of Mixtape in a lot of ways. I think the only difference. I completely
disagree, but go
on.
No.
You know that meme where it's the picture of a man takes pictures of an object versus when a woman takes a picture of the object?
Right.
Oh, God.
It's that, basically.
Oh, God.
The themes are absolutely the same.
Gabe made a good point.
Many such cases.
Right? All right. Don't push your luck.
It's that meme. It literally is that meme.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it is. This is the problem with saying that my first book is female mixtape Hyperborea is that typically someone changes at the end of the Bildungsroman, right? And there's no development. There's only,
it's not even clearly a single person or story. It's just like female experience vomited.
Vomited with a very similar voice over a dozen or so stories. It's I just, if Honor Levy continues to work, I think she's not going to make it past another collection of this quality, while still being able to publish. Like,
hey, listen, you're playing the king of the optics right now. I can feel your veins popping in your head right now.
There is Love Story is an absolute banger, total gem. Everything else is a half-baked version of it. Everything else. It doesn't have the lyricism. It is not written with the same care. It's extremely narcissistic and and like self it's like someone who is attempting to be sincere but is incapable of it. It's someone who's apologizing for things they can't and won't feel sorry for, with apologies to John Darnielle for ripping his line. But
well, that's just being a woman. I think she literally says this in a book, that she constantly saying sorry, not meaning it, because that's just a survival. Of being
she
a
does,
woman.
except saying that, saying you're attempting to, like, this is like, this is a David Foster Wallace fan, and unfortunately the sincerity does not appear to be here. It's just performative sincerity. Mm-hmm. It's
really, I thought it was actually,
I don't believe it.
Is there a difference between fake sincerity?
This is like party sincerity. This is party conversation sincerity.
Oh, it's like cool kids club sincerity.
This is cool. This is cool kids sincerity.
Yeah,
like this is, and that's might be the only kind of conversation she's ever had. Like, I know this because I know this type of person, because I have fucked and been rejected by this type of person more times than I can actually keep track of.
Like, oh my god, it's literally incel rage.
This is
coping right now.
It's the opposite of incel, because I hit that, but not Honor Levy. I've never met this person and never will. But the point is, like there is nothing unique about Honor Levy's perspective there, which is what is generally meant by sincerity. Like, to try to get to the authentic, unique core of your perspective. This is every affluent female who has ever been to college and had a social life. Like, for the last, at least for the last 40 years, right? Like, this is every party girl. You can find 1,000 of these in every metropolitan area, and they're all the same.
I had an exact thought of this. My phrasing was a little different. In my head, it was e-culture as a costume. So she's wearing culture, and that's part of the backlash. But then to tie back to the mixtape comparison, mixtape has these very vulnerable moments of, like, catching your friend masturbating, another masturbating with your friends at the sleepover, a lot of masturbating. I think about it, and a lot of these other, like, really sort of heartfelt, vulnerable moments that this generally lacks, especially from her main point of view. Even the most close to that I can think of, Fig, she is not going through the experience directly, unless you have an unusual reading of it. But it's her friend who's doing it, and she is, like, watching and observing it. And to your point about the interesting point of view, it's like, why not put our mind into the experience of that person? or, you know, put ourselves into the mind of this E person like we do a little bit in the first chapter, which is so interesting because you have this, she could taste racism on his tongue. And that's cool. And then later there's some references to guys she knows, and he's kind of a chud on the internet, and she's dating him, or she will date him eventually, is referenced. But it's like, why don't you show me that like uncomfortable, ugly, you know, not the stuff that quote unquote post left people won't just be cool with. Like there's like a lack of courage to go to those really interesting places. And so the e-culture thing comes off as more of a costume in those later stories than it does in story one.
Well, and I mean, there is some stuff that's like that I interpret as straight up minstrelsy, like
oh lordy,
like
this comes from a man that just watched Buck Breaking the film, so I would take his opinion seriously.
This white girl took our culture.
There is some stuff that comes there, stuff that comes off excessively inauthentic, like Nerf, right? In Z is for Zoomer for our wonderful listeners. Z is for Zoomer is her doing the alphabet and defining a bunch of words. Z is for Zoomer does have a somewhat interesting few intro paragraphs about the way that neologisms and existing words can take on new meanings. And then she does the alphabet of Zoomer words, basically. One of which is Nerf, which she completely misuses. Like it's just she's just actually wrong. In fact, I will find it for you, and you will know.
This is as in Nerf gun, correct?
Well, it's as in here. Hold on.
She tries to do the video
game
thing. Yeah, she tries to use the video game thing, but I still remember how the Nerf thing started as myself. So
older brothers and bigger boys took the word and used it in Call of Duty. Nerf is a verb now. I'm gonna nerf all you faggots. Give me that grenade. It means to weaken or make less dangerous.
Real gamers
usually in the
know.
context of weakening something in order to balance out a game, and is most commonly heard through headsets. Anyone can be nerfed, hit with those soft bullets, if someone decides they are a threat to the balance of our fragile game. When we nerf people IRL, we don't use foam bullets or digital bullets. Sometimes we use real bullets, but mostly we use words. Okay, it's not how nerf is used.
This is why we need real gamer sensitivity readers, so mistakes like this don't get through.
So I'm literally not even going to explain how it's actually used.
It's all the fake cells.
Because everyone knows. Anyone who is listening to this will know.
Listen, we can't let the women find out. Our 1.5 female audience cannot find out what Nerf means.
Yeah. Well, any woman who listens to this show is on so much testosterone that they'd probably pass if they didn't speak and clock themselves with their kazoo voice. So
no, I'll have you know, I guarantee you we got some sincere females after the Polia episode. We probably have 2 art hosts listening to us right now.
Okay, all right. Well, shout out to the host on this most host-scaring episode. You know, and you know, she'll cringe at pronoun users, but she repeatedly mentions, you know, the children in cages as a thing that matters to her. And there's some other fucking gay ass leftist things in here, that it just shows that the flirtation with the right is purely an affectation, because they with as many ellipses as you choose to put on it, are just drawn to subversion, right? And if you're an upper class person in LA or New York, then it is currently of the fashion to not be not be into the quote unquote woke stuff. It's currently fashionable to talk to the E-right guys or whatever. So that's my annoyance with that. The other thing is that, yes, in terms of the actual nuts and bolts of this book and the stories, what something like Mixtape has is real vulnerability and embarrassment. Nothing in this book will make you lose face. Oh, you're doing you're doing drugs? Oh, you're doing drugs. Oh, but it's ketamine at a party and it's glamorous.
Drugs. Yeah.
That's
with your other thin friends.
Yes, with all my thin friends, I'm doing a glamorous drug that's not even illegal. Like there is nothing here. This is a brag.
Yeah.
Right?
Give me the Ralph Mail takes. Doing meth in a Mexican shack. That's what I'm here for. Can we dwell on Z was for Zoomer for a minute? So we're kind of semi-covering that now because, I don't have too much to say on it. I liked pretty much all of these essays individually. It's just all together, it's a bit of a slog. Because to your point, there's like, what is it? There's like Nerf. What else they have? Like Cuck or Chud. It's like all these.
Sadly,
sort of
Cuck was not
slangs.
covered. That would have been.
Oh, you're right.
Neither was Chud. No, some of them are fucking dated too.
Yeah. This is from 2018, actually.
Okay. All right. Well,
a thought that occurred to me, and this ties into my broader structural. I like to theory about like how I would redo it if this was put on my desk as a friend. What I would suggest. These would be cool, like interstitial, like intermissions between chapters of like a novel or novella. And like, I just can't help think how much better this would read if she just retooled some of this. So there was sort of this awesome chapter 1, and then she tried to maintain a little more of that style and just had like some narrative. And you could string some of these stories together into the story of a single girl, because it's all a wealthy, half Jewish girl.
Strange, isn't it? Strange, really stepping outside of your comfort zone there.
Even if she has a different name, because in one I think her name is Marie or something like that. And so it's like, why not and retool where a few of them were, just cut a few of the trash ones or not so good ones, or that weren't thematically relevant, and just have a story of a girl that's from 20 to 22 or something, or a year in the life of this Zoomer girl that after this romance sparks off. A lot of these could already fit in, because then she even dates this guy later, and that comes in one of it. In like 2 of the stories, there's references to, I don't remember his name, like Gideon or something.
There's
the
2
guys
she's
Ivan. Friends with.
Gideon and
Ivan. Several times.
Gideon is the chronically online Chud friend.
Yeah.
And Ivan is the Ukrainian refugee.
Yeah, who's like got the student loan debt. And it just, you could have then add a couple, like maybe a few chapters with a more narrative content. And you could have really formed this with most of the same content into something, I think, that would have hit a lot harder, because it would have had, you wouldn't have to keep recovering, because with a short story, I think you always lose ground or you lose momentum at the end of it, because then you're starting clean on a new slate. And these are all, for the most part, so similar. It's like, why add that challenge? Anyway, I'll have to say, that's in my dream world, how this would have been retooled. Because, in the olden days, that was a very common thing. I was talking this with enemy of the show, T.R. Hudson, on Double Dealer, great podcast.
Frenemy of the show.
Frenemy
of the show.
Stitch ups. That used to be a really big thing back in the day. You would stitch up short stories into something resembling a novel with, some rework. But it just feels like, I feel like a lot of people in our scene, and this is not our scene, but they don't go through the effort of doing a stitch up that I think would make it much more appealing to a broader audience.
And cohesive.
And in this case, actually make it, more just cohesive thematically, and forced her to pick a lane and stick with it.
Put the work in.
Yeah.
Or heaven forbid, add a scene with dialogue in it.
What about the party, Chud? Did you not read The Party?
Let me rephrase. A character that's actually somewhat interesting and maybe not from her POV.
Yeah. The one time where there's a actual perspective. Actually, what's a little funny? I don't think this book passes the Bechdel test.
Wait.
Oh my God. You might be right. She's one of us, guys. Because the abortion one,
the end. That's just about the end of the world. I don't think there's talk about dating men in that one.
Yeah, but she's okay.
Pillow Angels, maybe.
Unless we count Yahweh.
Oh, you know what? I think she actually dodges it in story 2, in the Mirrors one, where she's the after school. Which actually I really like that story.
Prose is very good.
Where she rides home with her friend, and they're talking about kids.
Are they talking about? Are they not? Do they not mention a guy?
I can't remember if this is a male child or not.
Well, yeah, but the Bechdel test doesn't include like children. I assume it means like fuck boys.
But I think that might be one of the only times she dodged it. But I think she may dodge it. But I did want to call it that story because it was really good. That actually was really strong, and I was pretty pumped, into the first third or so, and then it just kind of wears you down as it's the more of the same.
Yeah, I am shocked that y'all found it. I really liked her style. Actually, I found it very because it's like I can't tell if she's fucking with me, like that mirror story with her and Versailles and talking about Louis the 18th, the Sun King, and how he created the theme of mirrors. Right, the kid's iPad's phone is broken. He doesn't have a mirror, but her world, she's surrounded by mirrors constantly. Right, the idea of reflection constantly comes returns.
Hall of Mirrors. I said this. I got mixed up a little earlier. But Hall of Mirrors is definitely the best of the sort of the average voice portion of the book, right? Hall of Mirrors is definitely the best of it. It doesn't get into these sort of first-person perspective litanies quite so bad as some of the others.
Is the MFA style is what I was thinking of it as, because it's this completely cerebral, just, I don't even know what you call it, just exploration of an idea, which can be done well. I'm not against it. But, and there was a couple of times it triggered me when she did the... it's such an MFA tell. What is it? It's like the adjective noun adjutant hyphen noun, like gunsmoke black. I had a gunsmoke black smile. Whatever you want to call that type of descriptor. And a few of those started popping up midway through, and I was like, okay, so now we're just doing MFA lit. That's what this has become.
Well, she did go to the same FFA class or school as Bret Easton Ellis, if I recall correctly,
who also has trouble writing.
See, what you said about him being poser sincerity, that's what I associate more of Ellis. Like the fake incel story, American Psycho, or any of his stories, really.
Well, perhaps they studied under the same insincere wizard.
Well, the thing is, I don't get Ellis vibes in her style, and I'm surprised.
I don't either.
I'm surprised because she cites a quote from C.S. Lewis from the Screwtape Papers. She says, "For the present is the point at which time touches eternity," and that goes to the entire theme of the book. It's basically a love letter. It's a girl boss femcel letter to Nietzsche, and the idea of eternal recurrence. We'll get that near the end, but if you notice, the idea of dying, turning back into dust, constant turning back into dust, plays back in loops, and the idea of loops in general. The first story referenced the eternal recurrence and the idea of a holy loop. He has a little Dark Age image of an entire looping of the Bodhisattva. Thank you, Steely Dan.
Oh my God, you did it!
So you just gotta get 70 rock bands to teach me English. Thank you very much. But I don't know. I thought Internet Girl was very sincere. Talk about growing up on the internet. Like as a Zoomer who basically also grew up on the internet, a different side of the internet, but internet nevertheless. I found Internet Girl at least pretty damn sincere.
Again, the measurement of sincerity is a vulnerability, and I don't know that I can. You can maybe give her a seat on the Council of Sincerity, but not give her the title of Master of Sincerity. If there's nothing that is embarrassing or negative about being sincere about it, like, okay, you went online.
Well, no, because it's like a girl.
did-
It's like Girl Boss Borges. It's like a Girl Boss Borges story. She even references the map story of Borges. Like she eventually realizes, she makes a comparison about the algorithm that exclusively is trained to look at nipples
For
online.
nipples,
And that's
yeah.
what's destined. It'll cry. But it's a funny punchline because she is good at punchlines. So there's some good one-liners here, and also it's the idea that Zoomers are like algorithms. So she even mentions this in Z for Zoomers. And if you look back at that story, basically she treats, because the internet with a capital I, she talks about this, with the capital I, internet was a place for us Zoomers. It was a place of being. There was a potentiality of being in there. It was like a long tunnel that never ended. But right when it now became a new normal, and now it's a lowercase internet, and it's boring and it's cringe. You know what I mean?
She used to be weird, and then she retreated into it, but now everyone is weird, essentially.
Yeah, it's not cool to be weird when everyone else is weird.
Yeah.
And you don't have any secrets.
I agree with you, by the way. I just flipped to Internet Girl, and it is one of the strong ones. It has a good focus.
And she's very poly-appealed in that one, when she says, like, having secrets, or the fetishization of secrets is what it is to be a woman. That's very Chthonian coded, you know? And I just really kind of appreciated that story, because she has like, oh, I'm so ditzy, I'm playing Club Penguin, you know, I'm listening to like the Night Court, all these ditzy, like, she's clearly intelligent, but she's doing the classic like hip, like the Red Scare, I'm a dumb bitch, but I'm actually quite intelligent, I read Foucault, but I'm just a dumb slut, like that kind of gimmick. Mm-hmm. But if you pay attention, if you bother to read the text, it's the bit. It is. You gotta commit to the bit. You gotta commit to the bit, right? You have to commit to the bit, and she commits to the bit there. But when you read the algorithm, the tit finding algorithm, it's a funny joke. But then it makes you sad when you think about it, and then you think about the whole story, and she's like, oh, basically when you grow up as a Zoomer, you yourself become an algorithmic being, basically. And she even actually kind of confirms this theory in Z's for Zoomer, when she says Zoomers are basically collective. We focus on our micro identities more than anything else, rather than this poisoned idea of individuality that millennials have. So I thought that was a rather poignant pseudo essay, which I thought was where it worked.
And that is a correct observation, right? Like that is true. You're all fucking commies.
Listen, I am a Nazbol. Thank you very much. I'm not a cringe post leftist.
Great, perfect.
Got our end of the episode clip now. Thank you.
I'm
Gabe.
a socialist. I'm a bit of a socialist myself.
Listen,
what kind of socialist? National.
Listen, I'm going to do a live stream of Jackson Hinkle after this. All right, we're MAGA communists.
God.
But I do. Another aspect I do agree with y'all is she is, well, Ophelia much. Yeah, she does drown in her own awareness of self. It is drowning in it. This is nothing but her POV, and the only thing I find her style very amusing, because I couldn't tell should I take it serious or not the entire time, because she's doing that fucking bit women do, and I always found it very hard to decode because of my autism, right? So I was like, do I do my theory cell thing with this, or do I not do my theory cell thing with this? And I would accidentally do my theory cell with the Internet Girl thing. I'm like, oh, actually there is some actual value and depth, and she's obsessed with certain things. Again, this is where it's good prose. As a Proust fag, you know, the only thing I care about is prose. And, you know, she's obsessed with teeth, with nails, dust, fingernails. Those are images that keep on popping up again and again. Lord knows, apparently she has a buck teeth, because she keeps on telling about her buck teeth every single short story. She mentions at least once about her gap in her fucking teeth. So she's constantly self-referential, a lot of this. But the entire point of the story is kind of... She's trying to have a version of the Nietzschean yes to life. I'll just spoil this now because we're talking about this in a little detail. The last story literally gives up the joke, kind of. And I don't mean this in like a, you know, Matthew Pegasus Mishima kind of thing. I mean, it's blatantly that segment from Ecce Homo from Nietzsche. This whole entire story is the repetition of life is just an endless theme of reincarnations, right? The eternal return, about living your life and accepting it. No matter what, you will live your life again 1,000 times, 100 times, and you got to live your life to what you deem to be the greatest. And you know, you're gonna, the idea of living eternally, to living the same life over and over again in an endless occurrence, it will crush you, or you'll stand up straight and say the eternal yes, I will live this life again 1,000 times with no difference. And that, which I guess, I don't know, this is, we joked about this a long time ago in Tales of the Unreal 2, where, well, the idea of the whole narrative is that it's kind of repetitive, that she lives the same thing over and over and over again. And that's the whole theme of the book, is the idea of this internally recurring cycle. Now, just because that's the point of the book, does that make the point good? I don't know. For me, it worked to a certain degree. After learning more, doing a deep reading of this, I found genuine nuggets of interest in this. Again,
I don't know if I see that take. Well, hold on. Two things. So I don't know if I completely see your follow or agree with your take about the repetition of the book being a purposeful theme of like of some kind of Vishnu rejuvenating cycle. But I do agree that there is like I feel bad. Hopefully I'm not coming across too negative on the book, because like I said, it's like, I think it's 50-50. Like 50% of it's pretty darn good or like great, like the first story.
More
and
than
then
you're being very generous.
Yeah.
But okay.
Well, I mean, I can roll them off
Sure.
in a minute here and just be like, which ones are worth it? And then like half is like, it's very variable. So let's just run through it real quick. Love story, Kino. Hall of Mirrors, Kino. Brief interview with a beautiful boy. And, I think I was like, okay.
Solid.
Internet Girl, it was good. Do It, Coward, I was nuts about. Good Boys, I think that was where it took a bit of a hit. I don't even remember Little Lock. Fig.
Little Lock is about the
Notebook.
is about the diary.
Yeah,
And
that's where you got the
to be
weird.
a voyeur. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you got the one.
voyeurism.
Yeah, that's the thing. It blurs into each other. You're having that problem
Yeah.
right now with remembering these stories.
That was pretty good. Fig, Cap Hated. I thought Fig was like competently written, but it was not like anything to write home about. Obviously,
Women write men.
Yeah.
Like it's
Cancel Me and everything after Cancel Me, I think. So it is like, to me, it's like the first half basically I thought was like overall positive, and then the second half is like Shoebox World, Z was for Zoomer, which again is cool ideas, but so repetitious and less like mini essay on like obvious words. Written by Side Girl, third person. That was another like At the Party, total crap. Sorry.
Agreed.
It is the worst page and a half in the book.
Yeah. Hey, I had to read it though.
Oh, fair.
I don't.
For me, yeah. the end had some interest. The end had some interest. It is about the world. It is the perspective of a doomed, dying person in a in newly created wasteland at the end of the world.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly 100% clear on what there's like a corn theme in it, which I found I did not understand. I admit I have no idea.
It was so out of the blue
what
with the rest of it, though,
about.
right?
I mean,
like
I get. Yeah, I get.
You don't know about the corn?
You're not corn-pilled, bro?
You're not corn-pilled? Wow.
He who eats the devil's corn will choke on his cob.
And also, there's two perspectives with that story, because she actually takes up the perspective at the concept of the first-person narrative, basically. She goes meta at the end.
She falls into it. Yeah, falls into it. And then I dug, and then I thought Pillow Angels was. It would have been a Pillow Angels would have been more enjoyable if I had enjoyed more of this book. I think it would have been a fun digression in a different collection, but I did kind of like I mean, there are a bunch of concepts in this that could have been executed in a much more interesting way if it wasn't just like the first perspective of a 22-
22-year-old Jewish girl, rich Jewish girl, every time with anxiety.
Every time. Oh,
or not even the same one
tell.
building on itself. The other thing, if it's a longer
or
narrative,
the same,
then you want to repeat it. Yeah, you have this assumed knowledge, and then you don't have to keep
have an
reestablishing.
arc.
But going through that list, I mean, does that sweeten you a little bit on it? Because yes, there's some real stinkers, but overall, I think it's reasonable to say half of those were pretty good. Or great.
Well, I think no, no. I was sick of litanies of eyes.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Actually,
I mean,
don't
this
need-
is a female author, though.
I
mean,
don't
let's
need
be
an
honest.
I don't need 2 paragraphs that all where every single word every single sentence starts with the word I. Like, yeah, no.
Actually,
it was incredibly tedious to get through this book.
How about
And I mean, it maybe took me, I don't know, maybe took me 5 hours to read this, and it got tedious so fast.
Yeah, it's exactly what Mike Kobo said, actually.
Actually, you know what? I'll be a contrarian here. Out of all the books you listed, all the stories you listed, I agree with everything except Cancel Me. I strongly detest Cancel Me.
I hate Cancel Me as well.
You just said you liked Cancel Me.
No, Cap said he liked it. Why be always
No.
confused me with Cap?
I was confused about which one was Cancel Me, actually. So no, I know the one. I know what Cancel Me is.
That's the only one where she drops the bit.
Where they're standing in the rain, yeah, etc.
Yeah.
Like, no, yeah, fuck that one.
You want to talk through Cancel Me for our
Yes.
dear listeners, and then maybe we can start wrapping up after that, because we're not going to do a one by one of each.
Listen, Cancel Me is so cringe. I'll take up Cancel Me because this is the one where I'm going to go full Chud Jack. I'll go briefly drop my wholesome chunkiness. All right, because listen, y'all know I love me the aroma of a privileged princess, but I cannot stand the stench of poser pussy, and this reeks of poser pussy. All right, this is the only time I'll actually bring up the class element in this, right? Because that's one common criticism with her. I noticed with like when you read the mainstream reviews or like talking about criticism of her, I read a little bit online. Like, are you telling me reading books is like a petite bourgeois to bourgeois activity? You're like telling me for the first time. Like, no shit, right? But this story is literally it's she drops the style of this ethereal, eternal e-girl, the eternal, ethereal e-girl voice where everything is magical but depressing with sparkles, and listening to Nightcore of Rihanna's Disturbia, which is generally a good song, to be honest with you, and all these kind of things, this glam girl boss nihilism. She drops the bit to have this trying to be serious, like, essay voice. And I don't think this is a New Yorker piece, but I would not be surprised if it was a New Yorker piece.
Plot-wise, can you just give a brief summary of it?
She takes perspective of she's with her friends, Jack, and I forget the other guy's name, Jack and Roger, in a 7-Eleven, and they're going to a party. However, the guy who owns the house, the party place, Piggy, does not want them up there because he has canceled them, basically. The reason why Jack and Roger are canceled is because they do a little thing called stealthing. We stealthing in here. And stealthing is when you are middle of conducting the coitus with a girl, and you accidentally or intentionally slip off the condom and continue conducting the course. And
it is on purpose. Yeah.
Arguably on purpose.
It just happens sometimes, bro. I don't know how.
And apparently this is a cancelable
I've never
offense.
stealthed, for the record.
For the record, I've never worn a condom.
Please.
For the record, I never had sex.
You have literally talked about your repeated cases of the clap on multiple different episodes.
Listen, I'm Napoleon pilled. Prostitutes do not count. Thank you very much. Anyway, so they're canceled for that, basically. And Piggy may have beaten a girl or with a Nintendo Wii stick playing tennis, apparently. And so he's
Reddit moment.
the soy jack with yes, that's what I thought too. And like,
I hit my wife with my Nintendo Switch because she won't sound me, or whatever. She won't help me dilate or whatever.
Yeah, dude. The problem with that is, as a right wing Leninist, this came as Menshevik bullshit. To be honest with you, like her two canceled, who are supposed to right wing fans, they read Junger, but they still go to therapy. But it's edgy because they're like on skateboards, right? And the ending, the thing is, her prose still stays good because she talks about the people up there, they're silhouettes. The people up there, they're still people too. Just because they canceled us doesn't mean they're not people. They're people too. And just because we're outside, obviously being outside in the rain or being put outside in the rain as a metaphor for being quote unquote canceled. And the ending line is literally talking about how Piggy is hypocritical, the silhouettes are people too, and there's a leak, there's a crack on the ceiling, and they're getting right in there too, aka the revolution always eats itself kind of thing. And it's a good visual metaphor, but it just comes off as so centrist coded. It's so fucking centrist. This is something like the intellectual dark web would talk about in 2016 era YouTube Twitter, right? It just comes off as so dated. Like from a perspective of a very dated personality. This is the classical liberalism. This is Sargon in his classical liberal era, basically. It comes off like, doesn't the tone come off like that? It's very much, I voted for Hillary Clinton, but I just think woke cancel culture has gone a little too far, right? Doesn't
I have a crush on this chud. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why I want to get railed by white or by what? Sorry, no, I almost said white wing.
Well,
but wet wing. Yeah, white wing.
The white wing boy. But she's like, listen, and then there's again the humor's still there. She has a good line, like, listen, I don't want to get my friend Piggy is canceled for something he did do. Jack is getting canceled for something he did or did not do, and I want to get fucked by Jack, who was being claimed for doing it. She even says, "Hey, I know for a fact that Jack will do this to me," which is like some weird kinky sex shit, like drunk sex, most likely, right? And so she has that self-awareness humor that I quite kind of like, and But as a chud, as a person who was born a chud, I was there. All right, I was a woo posting when Marine Le Pen ran the first time on poll. I was a sweet summer child on poll, damn it. All right, I was listening to Mara Q's music videos when they were on YouTube. All right, as an old head at this point, compared to her ass, I need to say, bitch, lowercase b, wholesome chungus, woman respecter, bitch, take several seats back. To do her metaphor, she's complaining about the silhouettes upstairs. I have been living underneath the sewer. I'm literally like the Chud 2 poster. All right? I am literally, this is my life. You merely adopted the dark bitch. Like, because she says this beautiful, there's a footnote. She does it, this is one of her footnote stories, there's footnotes in it. And she's like, I can still come up whenever I want, and of course, you silhouetted people can always come down to the canceled and be amongst the masses. And she briefly references, I think, Dasha, like, being an edgelord is the most heroic thing you can do. And she's like, yeah, I wish that was true, but then again, hurting people or like being provocative isn't also always the answer. It is the most milquetoast message ever. Like, this is the most, like, anti-woke thing you can publish in the New Yorker. It's like, yeah, canceling sucks, but I don't think being a provocative edgelord is the answer either. Like,
but it's not even saying that canceling is, like, terrible. It's just saying, like, maybe it goes a little too far sometimes.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
That's what I'm saying. People like us, we're
backbone.
underneath the fucking sewers while she's having this little moment of being outside.
Well,
briefly.
we are in the ghetto. We are in the ghetto.
That was clear. Gabe, not do us any favors with your sex talk. But
yes.
Here we are.
We're underground men.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in to Morlock Radio Hour. We'll be climbing out of here to sup on your delicious Eloy flesh.
Those crunchy Eloy nipples hit different, man.
Jesus Christ. Why are they crunchy?
Don't ask. Do
Baked by the
not
sun.
explain.
I thought I was the one who wasn't a sex haver in this podcast.
Yeah, you are.
Do you want to tell us why nipples are crispy?
I'm going to leave that to Straussian interpretation of the viewers.
Okay. Reasonable. Very reasonable. Yeah. And also with that, we don't encounter or know those characters beyond this brief description. So again, going back to Old Davies, my fan fiction version of this, like, why not stretch that over 10 chapters and we know those characters, and it's largely about that trio of characters. Just I don't know. Just a miss on that particular story. But do you have anything else on that one, Cap, that you wanted to?
I do not.
Now that you remember which one it was. Yeah.
Well, it would have been awesome if this actually should have been a whole dialogue. Like, these characters should have been actually talking characters.
That should have been the party, right?
The
she was
social
at
tension.
the party. Yeah, the three of them. Then someone says tell a rape joke with a guy that whips condoms off. That's some fucking interesting dialogue. That would be some fun interactions.
Yeah,
I do want to. I do want to. If you guys are done with cancel me, I do have some things about pillow angels.
Oh, let's get to
Time
Pillow
for
Angels.
The day of the pillow is finally here.
The day of the pillow.
Well, I
All
would
right,
like.
so
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I wanted to just do 2 quotes before Pillow Angels because they do tie into Pillow Angels. If you don't mind, they're 2 short ones.
Sure.
One is about bloomers. Actually, you know, she is good with one-liners. Yet again, this is prose porn, and I'm not gonna read all of them, but there is some good prose porn dialogue. And there's one which is really good. She calls an example is like she talks about the concept of bloomers. You know, bloomers, they're always eternal. They're that what would they call it now? What does Zoomer call it now? The golden retriever boyfriend. They're annoying, but they're like a sunburn that turns into a tan. You know, they're so annoying they turn into like a wholesome chungus kind of thing. That's a good one. But but these 2 quotes are going to be what ties into Pillow Angels with the overall theme of the book. This one is from Boxcar, the Boxcar one, which is a good story. I also like the Boxcar, but this quote is this. When you are dead, you are nothing, and nothing is the only thing that cannot be caged and contained. You are dust, and you shall return to dust, and you will try to smile, but you will have no teeth. And which is a pretty damn good line. She has the little ending lines, but you have no teeth, or like what you said with the slur. You know, his lips tasted like what slurs taste like, or something along those lines. Because she has those beautiful little provocative little just prose points. I think are quite good. And then this one is a kind of a narrative thing. If she woke them up, they would ask why she smelled like cigarettes, if she wants to get lung cancer, and if she thinks she's invincible, or that smoking makes her interesting. She would tell them that, like them, she is dust, and she will return to dust. The question is, what will remain? And just keep that quote in your mind, and then we'll get to Pillow Angels. Let's go get to Pillow Angels now.
So, Pillow Angels is the final story in the collection, and it is proper fiction. So it is about a bunch of high school girls boofing lines of Vyvanse off of an iPad mini. And all of them are... It is unclear whether they are fully hallucinating, but they are... This is a incredibly aggressively nihilistic story. So, you know, she's talking about how, she just got a nose job. Everyone is saying how great and how natural it looks. She mentions her rhinoplasty surgeon was a North Korean defector whose family had been tortured, and he, after having done such a beautiful job on her nose, he was able to finally kill himself, as he had been intending to do for so long. And so he was released from the world after this final victory. And I thought Foot
Guys had it rough.
And they start, and these girls, after getting high as a kite, begin to stick their fingers down each other's throats to make them party. To make each other vomit, because they want to. We all want to be Dachau Liberation Day skinny for spring break on Little St. James. We need a vacation because LA is Narnia now. Climate change is real. It's always winter, but never Christmas. I celebrate Hanukkah anyway, so I don't even really care. When I grow up, I'll control the media or the banks, but first I'll study comparative literature or new media or Nietzsche, like my brother did at NYU. And so they talk about how they're the most popular girls in school because the most popular girls in school all did a suicide pact. So the B squad is now the it girls. And all of these girls are some kind of are basically terrorists. In her case, it was my parents had sex on Space Mountain. 9 months later, I would be the second worst thing to happen on September 11th, 2001. 1 second, I was a martyr piloting a plane right into a skyscraper filled with love. Then there was a puff, and I was a beautiful baby girl being pulled out of a soap opera actress in Los Angeles. That's a fun fact about me. And the Joss Whedon punchline on that one actually lands because of how like banal and nihilistic this story is. I to call it banal and nihilistic, I that's actually not a criticism. That is the bit, right? Mm-hmm. One of her friends got cotton candy lung from
popcorn lung.
Popcorn, yeah, right. But sorry. She smoked cotton candy nicotine and got popcorn lung from her shitty vapes. And another one of them got radicalized on a Vocaloid message board, came to a homecoming dance with a bomb up her skirt, and forgot to detonate. They all had a good laugh about it later. This one has a strong, it has a very strong vibe, and like I feel like if a tone like this had been maintained, it's almost like this one is almost like Robert Anton Wilson, who is sometimes also compared to David Foster, sometimes considered to have prefigured David Foster Wallace in his fictional style. But that one is but because of the like more
surreal,
loopy sort of conspiratorial, addled kind of tones of it, it reminds me more of Robert Anton Wilson. But I thought that she could have also gone that direction. Like she could have gone this vibes based economy with some of the writing, and for me it was like an amazing beginning, like an okay. There were some okay stories in the middle, another one that had some promise at the end, but like there's a lot of just slop. There's a lot of slop in here.
Girl slop.
There could be 100 fewer pages in this 200-page book.
It would be purely additive. Yeah, addition by subtraction. I thought the exact same thing. The beginning and the end, and then just cut out the ones I gave when I read through it. Like there's like 5. You just drop it, and it's like, okay, it's a short story collection still. If you're gonna keep it a short story collection, but keep the ones with strong voice. I guess it's almost is like the style thing, right? Like we're reacting to the first and last, which have really strong, bold styles, and then of the middle, it seems like the ones that are more the standard MFA writing style. We like the ones that are more narrative and have, just more narrative. And then there's of those, the half or more that are, there's like the one that's just like pure dialogue, experimental, and then a bunch of circular, mental, anxious female thoughts, and those are the ones that we found exhausting. So it's like there's three styles basically.
Yeah, and with this, she actually tried to be surrealist.
The circular litanies of like allegedly confessional statements, like that type of shit, is the easiest shit to write. Anyone can write that. It's real. It is not challenging. It does not require skill or effort.
Particularly in a short story, because you can like repeat yourself.
It doesn't need
to build on itself.
You don't have to justify its presence with any sort of frame to work it into a larger narrative. You don't have to justify it in as dialogue. Like it is baby mode. It is undergrad shit. Like, yeah.
She's in her baby mode era. She's going baby mode. She's going 9 core sped up baby mode.
She has been published in the New Yorker and has her first book is being my first book is being published by Penguin. Like that is you. How do you
don't
get
the
to the
kid gloves?
Yeah, you do not get the kid gloves. If that is the case, you are not in your baby mode. You are not just a small bean. But if that is where you are getting your shit, where your shit's coming from.
But being a small bean is the point of this big book.
It's a small book as well, but
Gabe fell for the female trap again. Baited.
God. Well, fortunately, this was not that member of Times Square.
Hey, listen, no. Listen, she actually in the credits, she literally thanks Ursula Gwynn. So your simp queen.
She
gave
does.
birth to
Also,
this.
humorously, she thanks Jason Pargin, which as you probably know is the real name of the previously pseudonymous David Wong, who wrote John Dies at the End, which was an early precursor to the current wave of successful self-publishers. He was writing writing in the 2006 online and ended up publishing that and got his online shitposty horror comedy novel turned into a movie with Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, I saw. I was surprised. So man, so he made it big with a self pub in early 2000s into a fucking movie. Fucking A.
Yeah. I mean, he's a lib, but he got there the hard way. That's for sure.
Well, game respects game, and she also, like a true track calf, she does thank the Archangel Michael in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also implicitly Joyce, because he talks about celebrating Bloom's Day, which is like the Joyce thing, which is from Ulysses, which is the celebration of the birth of the protagonist, Bloom, and so the Bloom influence is there, the Joyce influence is there, and yet again, she is an intelligent author, and it's hard being, listen, as the woman respecter. I'm officially the woman respecter of this pod now, because I give this my glowing endorsement. This, I dare say, is in the top 10 of what we reviewed.
Get the fuck out.
I am standing.
Wait, we've only reviewed 10 things.
Exactly.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Jackalopes is now number 11.
Oh no, Marlowe Bros.
It's over. Listen, if I had to read one more thing inspired by Conrad, listen, be a young right-wing dissident author trying to look for influence. The light version, David Foster Wallace. The evil version, Joseph Conrad. Every negative review we've given is to a guy who has been a Conrad simp.
Yeah, you know what Nabokov said about Conrad.
Yeah.
I know you do because you sent me the link.
Listen, a phony style, souvenir style. Basically, Nabokov rightfully called him a phony. But this, what this phony is? This ain't phony. This is, I say, what Cap's criticism I can see. I think it's overindulgent sincerity. It's horseshoe theory of sincerity. Overindulgence in sincerity can feel like fake sincerity. I think that's what's happening here, because the entire book is about her, right? These stories are blended together. It's the same pop song over and over again, which is different lyrics to a certain degree. Yet again, the end, the story, literally the end, very creative. I did like the final punchline, the motif style, but it's the same punchline again and again and again until you finally gather enough breadcrumbs, and then you have the Pillow Angels. And I do think I would like to read certain segments of this, if y'all wouldn't mind. And I think maybe you get pussy enlightenment from this. All right, from the Pussy Pillow Angels. All right.
All right, go for it.
The night might never end. All this speed will get me nowhere. What have we been running in place? What if it's one long big treadmill? What if it's an internal loop? Now, here's this. A demon steals after me into my loneliest loneliness and speaks to me. I think I'm crying a little bit. Everyone else is too busy practicing their one-handed cartwheels to see what I see, to feel eternity recurring. Then, we're going to skip a large chunk of dialogue here. Now it's time for us to play Truth or Dare. I say truth for everyone. If I told you the life we're living right now and have lived, what if we had to do it again and again, all over again, forever? Every smiling face emoji, every sad face emoji, and there will be nothing new in it, literally. We're all specks in the hourglass of an eternity, and it will never stop turning. Attila asked me what an hourglass is. I show her the emoji, sad face, hourglass. None of them throw themselves down on the carpet or gnash their Invisalign teeth or curse me or spoke thus. We have all experienced a tremendous amount, so we can answer, then I would say you are a god and never have I heard anything more divine. Unquote. And this is the only other character to really have a quoted dialogue is, of course, Friedrich fucking Nietzsche. I saw this quote, and I immediately reminded, oh shit, this is literally from Ecce Homo. She even brings up the hourglass. If you go to a quote from Ecce Homo, which I have written down here, which is a quote from Nietzsche. What if some day or night a demon were to steal into your loneliness and say to you, this life as you now live and have lived, you will have to live once again and innumerable times again, and there'll be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy, every smiling face, every sad face, and every thought and every side, every unspeakable small or great in your life must return to you, all in the same succession and sequence, even this spider and this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment and I myself, the eternal hourglass of existence is turned up, down, upside again. It is turned upside down again and again, and you with it, speck of dust. Unquote. And so, you see, this is finally the point of the book, right? This is literally the idea of eternal recursion from the very first story, where she literally names drops the eternal recursion. The whole framing of the enlightenment of it is her boyfriend realizes the eternal recursion, or her femcell version of the eternal recursion, and the idea of eternally repeating loops again and again, the algorithm thing with the internet, all throughout, where she constantly referenced turning back into dust. That's why I had the dust quote earlier. She's constantly thinking about the internal self of herself always wanting. She'll always be in this state of wanting. She'll always be me. It's me, me, me. She's literally the ultimate LA baby, which she made a joke about in one of the short stories. She is the ultimate LA baby. The entire book is about me. And not only about me, it is the acceptance that I'll always continue to be me for all of eternity. It is the ultimate pillar, golden calf of narcissism to a certain degree. Sincere, self-loathing, and pitying narcissism. It is both cringe and beautiful at the same time. And I do not give her points. I do give her points for being clever, right? For trying to be subtle with the Nietzsche illusion, at least throughout the entirety of the book. And then the very ending of the story is the skeleton key to point out what's the deeper theme in here. So this entire time we were reading a girl boss Nietzschean that is not named last name Palia and is not half as talented, to be honest, but still nevertheless a femcell Nietzschean.
I don't know what to say. I guess I kind of agree there is a theme of narcissism. So, yeah. Cool. Cool, Gabe.
That's all you have to say about it? I did all this detective work.
God damn it, it's really hard to yes and you when you go off for that long.
I had to look up the Nietzsche quote, damn it. I knew I recognized the damn quote. I hunted that damn quote.
Well, I forgive you.
And listen, this horrible podcast, when we die, our little Dark Age edit will be us discussing Honor Levy right before our heart stops.
Oh, don't speak this into the world.
Thus spoke Zarathustra. We will be talking about Honor Levy at the end of our lives, and someday at the beginning of our lives.
Oh, dear Lord. I believe that you are... because I only believe in bad endings, I know that you are right.
Many such cases?
Right.
With a sad face emoji
don't
this
push
time?
it.
This time again, sad face emoji. And also in this very story, she brings up her brother studying Nietzsche. So there's also that.
Yeah. All right, let's can we consider that your closing thoughts, Gabe, or do you have any additional?
To sum it up, this is finally the end of the spirit of Geo is now lifting away from me. I can be back to my chud self. When reading this, one brings up a quote I had. I was having breakfast one of the other days, and with this guy, and this guy says to me, son, a cringe female author is a chunk of coal you can fuck. And there's always that part of them. Well, for us men, you just throw the book away. And I think that is wise words of wisdom that I told to myself in role-playing. And I think this is one of the cases here. I don't think it's a chunk of coal necessarily. I do think it's from a purely right-wing anthropology. It is interesting to see our Thingavars or something being like this is the idea of different castes.
Something responding to it, at least.
Yes, this is a normie looking into our world. This is this is what our normal is their like freaky alien invasion, and I do like seeing what I know to be so familiar, what's so familiar to myself, being so alien to another. Because she's a normie, but
yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, you're the this is what it's like to live in Florence and see the tourists in the streets.
Yeah, my definition was to see like William James, like you're Japanese, be me, be Japanese royalty. Seeing this Dutchman become a samurai.
Oh, a Dutchman.
Like it's I guess it's cultural appropriation, but it's not even. I don't want to call it
William James.
Because William James actually had to put into work and actually, you could be a fucking samurai and everything, but it's still a sense of this, a foreigner is taking a different approach to something that I know since before I could walk. And this is what she's doing to us to a certain degree. And us being a Zoomer, like when she talked about memes and Wholesome Chungus and cutting for Bieber, I had a flashback for the cutting for Bieber thing. So there's aspects of
you cut for Bieber?
No, I don't. I remember the phenomenon. Obviously, no, I didn't cut for myself.
I mean,
you're at the right age for it. Yeah, sensitive young man.
I only cut for goth girls. Thank you very much.
Only cut goth girls.
True, but yeah, from a Zoomer's perspective, oddly enough, it got me more in touch with certain aspects of my Zoomer norminess, what little I had of a normie life, and also. It's the personal and the interesting. It's like watching Gazelle eating your favorite hamburger. It's just a deeply odd yet interesting experience to look at. And I did generally like her voice. I liked her style the entire time. I do generally think her style is funny and interesting. And the entire book was very easy to read and fun. I think her style is fun. It is Reddit coded, but it's fun Reddit coded. Damn it.
Yeah. All right, and then I guess my take, just to. In summary, really strong first story that I just wish had been in some way maintained throughout, and then it sort of falls into, with some good stuff in there, this sort of big slog of MFA type stuff that's we've discussed I think a few times by now, that ultimately I can't recommend. I don't think I would recommend anyone read anything beyond the first story, as we said. So I think this could be a podcast as service type thing where you could listen to this and say, I got the best part out. I listened to Cap's rendition, and that's all I need.
Oh, it's like symmetry. This podcast went downhill right after we recited the story. That right after that story, the book went downhill. It's like poetry.
That's
so
true. Thank you for being here for the additional hour and 15 minutes.
I'm sure there's more if we let Gabe keep going.
Gabe would make every single episode 4 hours long.
Damn right. And it'll be glorious.
And you can hear the uncut Gabe if you subscribe to our Patreon.
The Gabe cut.
Paywall.
Yeah.
I am still holding 30 minutes of incel hostage.
This,
so maybe I'll release that as a reward to our
the Gabe cut.
Patrons. Yeah.
The Tuggers need release.
Oh, God.
But I don't know. Cap, did you have any other closing thoughts beyond,
read the sample on Amazon.
I know the rest of it's not that like that.
It's the entire first story. So We didn't read anything that wasn't publicly available here. It's, I mean, if you just really want some insight into that scene or something, or you want to see a bunch of significantly less tightly written work from the author of Love Story, then pick up the book. Honor, you will never listen to this, but should you ever listen to this, work as hard as if you were a man on your next book, and it will probably come out much better. You definitely have talent, but the fact that this got published by Penguin is due entirely to your connections and gender. So
yes. Well, I would also say that, because I think she is extremely talented. It's just that she needs to think about format, and I don't know, get like harsher beta readers or something. Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of crazy to
She
think.
got 3 pretty harsh betas here.
Hey, alpha readers. We're straight up alpha. It just does make you wonder, like, what is the process to get something put out? And I know obviously they put out more experimental stuff they don't expect to make money on, but it is like, what is, I don't know. It does make you scratch your head when there's other stuff left on the table. And then short story collections, like, obviously, what's the value of a short story collection? Let's be honest, they're not marketable.
Are you saying this as a reviewer of like 6 short story collections?
I mean, normal people don't read short story collections. I remember we talked about this with Woolston, who was releasing another short story collection against my advice.
Who will be reviewing?
Like, people.
I told that fucking Abbo he needed to write a goddamn novel.
Yes, he still does. I told him to do a stitch up of what he has now, and he still blew it off. But anyway, he says some not subcontinent, some southern continent. Subcontinent's a very different thing. They never learn. All right, let's leave it there. Thank you, gentlemen. And before we go, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh, fuck you.
We got to do it, dude. For the love of God, we could use some likes.
At least be meta about it. At least have a sarcastic eye roll in your tone.
Teach your toddler to like and subscribe. Get us on the auto plays for children so that they can learn slurs early and get into HBD in the cradle.
Yeah.
Only read fiction that will radicalize them.
Oh,
talk about gonorrhea.
Oh, Steve.
For no reason.
Oh, Passage Press releases Noticing Baby. It's like anti-racist baby, but it's written by Steve Saylor. It's
the Noticing Baby.
Noticing
That'd
Baby.
be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Fund it.
Little Miss, come on, hire me. I am the ultimate branch worker, and I'm a fellow Croat. We have the ethnic coalition of solidarity.
It was cute, kawaii, uwu.